All right, welcome back everyone to another episode of Jets Flight Path. Brian here along with Paul and the Deshaun Watson news. Over the past weekend, really ramped up. We're getting more reports that Watson wants out officially from Houston, that nothing will change his mind, and then the Texans go ahead and make, I think, the biggest surprise hire at head coach, even more so than the Chargers or the Lions, hiring Dan Connolly as their new head coach. They're also bringing back Lovie Smith into the NFL as their new defensive coordinator, getting him out of college. That was a shock. And right away, you have the GM Nick Casario, come out and state the Texans as an organization, reiterating that they support Watson, that they want to build around him, blah blah blah. It just, the typical remarks that just have to be made. You're not going to throw your star player under the bus or come flat out say, yeah, he's just come take him. He's ready to go. He's already has his bags packed. But it's very interesting to see the developments further along. But like the past, I'd say 4 or 5 days, there's been a whole lot of other news going on outside the sports world that's kind of taking hold of national media and
Right.
national news for everyone. But in regards to Watson news, it's been kind of quiet, but you have the strong connections there to the Jets. Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter feel that he'll go to the Carolina Panthers. Schefter and Chris Mortensen, another ESPN insider, don't believe he'll end up with the Jets. You have the Dolphins as a possibility. Me, I'm still always thinking the Patriots because of that connection with the Houston's new GM coming from New England. But you had the Miami Herald or wherever, Miami newspaper reporter flat out say last week, and he's been sketchy in the past. He's apparently the Dolphins version of Manish Mehta, so take with what he says with a grain of salt.
Right, right.
Saying that, Watson's top destination from his team is the Jets. I don't know, like, Paul, what is your take on all the developments for the last week?
Well, I mean, you said it pretty well here that it's like a market frenzy to tie into what's going
You
on right
could,
now.
you
The
could
the
say that,
national,
yeah.
yeah, market frenzy. Hold the Texans are trying to hold Deshaun Watson, but
Yeah.
the other teams around the league are starting to short sell him, and they're holding. No, but in all seriousness, yeah, you mentioned Schefter and other analysts are saying, well, he's not fit for the Jets, and I guess so. But you look at the Jets, and obviously you're not trying to be biased here, but really the Texans can get what they want from the Jets and be in a position to quickly rebound over. Getting rid of Watson. You can get the three first rounders from the Jets. It's not a problem. They have the capital. You can probably get Darnold if you need a quarterback. It doesn't make sense for at least I think for the Texans to trade with Carolina. Where are they drafting? I think like
Think
number
top
10 or
10, but
11
they
or
they're
something.
gonna miss out on their choice of Fields or Wilson there because if they trade with the Jets or the Dolphins, you have your basic choice at 2 or 3,
Right,
whatever
absolutely.
whatever franchise quarterback to replace Watson right away, plus all those picks you would recuperate that you've given away the past few years with Bill O'Brien at the helm.
Of
It
course.
it doesn't make sense to me. I can't imagine like what possibly can Carolina give up? Like, I'm gonna actually look up what is the Panthers
Well,
uh,
the
picks.
Carolina right now picks at number 8. Detroit picks at 7. Philadelphia, I mean, who knows what Philadelphia is going to do? They could be in the market for a quarterback. I doubt it, but you
Carolina
never know.
picks. I'm sorry, Paul, to cut you off. Carolina has the number 8, number 40,
Right.
number 72 overall pick, number 112, and number 151. They don't have the draft capital at all, and also they don't have the players other than Christian McCaffrey. I'm trying to think of like real commodities. Like who would they trade? Like DJ
Teddy
Moore?
Bridgewater, maybe, or
But why would Houston want that over, say, a younger guy like Darnold or Tua?
that's what I'm saying. A lot of speculation. I think the best trade partners again would be the New York Jets or the Miami Dolphins. You know, these two teams, or I should say, the Texans are in a unique position. They fucking suck. They're terrible. They have a franchise quarterback who I'm going to come out and say top five. I know we've been beating around that line for the past few weeks, but I'm going to come out and say it. Top five quarterback. I sat down. I looked at statistics throughout this past year, the year before. Not to mention looking at what Deshaun Watson did with essentially a barren waste of a team. He
Hmm.
lost his number one receiver at the back end of the year, and the man just absolutely dominated.
with a
Um,
with a bottom five offensive line throughout his career that has not improved
right. Um,
substantially. Like compared to like other teams, like young quarterbacks like the Buffalo Bills who drafted Josh Allen, terrible O-line in the first year, and each offseason got better and better to where they are now, where it's kind of middle of the pack. But you look at what Watson, Houston, their O-line has been always garbage. They've never had a run game. They've tried to plug in guys like Lamar Miller, David Johnson. It doesn't work. I think who was the other running back they had for a minute?
they had Aaron Foster.
No, no, no. This is I'm talking about like when Watson was there, like
Oh,
before Miller.
Blue. Alfred Blue,
Oh,
or I
from
think his
Blue
name
they
was.
tried for a second. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just the Houston, like you said, the Texans are a terribly ran organization. They're the worst team in the NFL from that standpoint, not wins and losses. Um, well, not yet, but uh, it, just hammering that point home. I mean, from the Panthers' perspective, if you're a Panthers fan, you got to be excited that you're like kind of the dark horse in
Right.
this Watson race, and like, but I'm just really trying to put together because you have reports which coming out that Houston wants three, or maybe even possibly four first round picks, blah, blah, blah. It's like no teams can accomplish what Houston will want in a return for Watson other than the Jets and Dolphins. I can't see, unless the Texans just, you know, make a bad move on their part as an organization by trading with Carolina. It just doesn't make sense. And I don't know where these NFL insiders are coming from. You also have this tweet from earlier today, Allen Robinson saying, "Don't believe everything you hear or read," which Allen Robinson, I believe, is going to be, other than I fully 100% believe Richard Sherman will be a Jet come free agency for like a 1 or 2 year deal. I think Allen Robinson is going to be a New York Jet. Like, but it's just odd where like this Watson, and not even a whole lot of Watson to Dolphins speculation too.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of when Brett Favre became a Jet. You heard so many teams that were in on Brett Favre, and then at the end of it, it really came down to Tampa Bay versus
Hmm.
obviously the Jets, and we all know what happened there. Excuse me. Um, eh, I mean, Brett Favre is he was at the tail end of his career, but this is a 25-year-old top five quarterback in the league, and again, if I'm the Houston Texans, of course, like you said, they're not going to come out and say, yeah, he's available, come get him. No, they're going to say he's not available. But again, you have to look at, well, what can the Jets offer me? Well, they got this, and this, and this. What can the Dolphins offer me? Well, we can get our pick back, we can get this, we could do that. And, teams like the Patriots who are picking, I believe, 15. Okay, so we'll get the 15th overall pick, and now if Deshaun Watson lights it up in New England, because they will put pieces around them, they have a great offensive line, and their defense isn't terrible. Okay, now you're looking at a late first round pick.
Hmm.
And if I'm the Texans, I'm trading with the Jets just because I still think they have a little bit to go to rebuild, and this
It
year will be number
also
two.
makes sense
Yeah,
from like a good faith perspective. So similar to how Joe Douglas treated players such as Avery Williamson, vets like, all right, I'll trade you to a contender like Pittsburgh and recoup like a fifth round pick or whatever it was. Steve McClendon, who's now in the Super Bowl,
yep,
trading him to Tampa Bay for like a late round pick. Doing that as a general manager shows like good faith. So if he trades Watson to like Carolina, like I'm sure Watson would be fine with the Dolphins. Again, like you mentioned with these reports and everything, and on Twitter, former Jet Rob Carpenter, uh, his tweet reads, "Everyone around Deshaun Watson says he would like to play for the Jets with Saleh in place." Now, remember, reported by these NFL insiders that Watson wanted the Texans to just interview Robert Saleh. They were the only team who didn't even give him an interview.
Hmm.
The only team. He continues, "It's funny how Mort and Schefter keep saying that's not the case. I get the obvious thing that the NFL tries to keep secrets like they're hiding nuclear weapons, but this is silly." And it is. Like, NFL insiders, like, they're just trying to cause more speculation because it seems too obvious, right? Like, it makes too much sense for all parties. For the Jets to make the move for Watson, for the Texans to trade with the Jets, it makes it's so obvious that, like, I feel at this point, while things calm down just a bit over the past 4 or 5 days, it just to stir some like news, for, with throwing some other teams in there.
Yeah, again, it's just you're in the you're on the bye week now between the championship game and Super
Hmm.
Bowl, so now you got to keep some buzz
There's
going about
there's
the
no Pro
NFL.
Bowl. There's nothing, like, nobody's gonna tune in for that stupid Madden thing.
Well, and if you mind, I'd like to talk about that Madden
Sure.
game a little bit later on in the show. We'll
Yeah.
we'll finish up with Watson, then we'll go into the Pro Bowl. Yeah, it's all speculation at this point. Um, again, do I want to trade the farm for Watson? No, not really. That's been my position since day one. But if he does become a Jet, okay, great. Now we have a quarterback, and maybe we can build around him in free agency and in the draft.
We can trade
And
half the farm. I'm comfortable with trading half the farm.
well, and here's another thing. Dan Orlovsky, who used to play quarterback for the Detroit Lions, he was on I don't know, he was on one of those ESPN shows. I don't watch ESPN anymore because it's a bunch of hot garbage. But
Hmm.
I was talking about different trades, and it's just he's throwing out there for the Giants. He would take Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, and 3 first rounders and send it to Houston for Deshaun Watt. Like, I don't know if they're just trying to, like, keep us
I mean, it
entertained, or they're trying to
again.
just drive up the price of Watson. Or
If I was the Giants, I would absolutely do that. But Dave Gettleman is stubborn, and he's terrible. He's pretty damn good at drafting, and that's why he's had now a second general managing job. He did well with Carolina. He's done well at drafting with the Giants, but in terms of everything else, trades, contracts, not so great. So
right,
even though I think that would be a win for the Giants, you get a star quarterback, a stud in Watson, and the Giants' defense is pretty solid as it is, and especially in that wretched division, the NFC least, they could easily, well, not easily, but I mean, take care of business with the Eagles with their new bumbling head coach, the Cowboys, who are always paper champions, and really the tough team would be against Washington. But having Watson for the Giants and losing a running back who you're probably not planning on paying anyway, who's been often banged up, a quarterback who's quite frankly been a bust to this point. Uh, Again, any team that gets Watson, and if you have to part with 3 first round picks plus, you're not losing, because this doesn't happen. You mentioned before Brett Favre. That was at the end of his career. He was 38 or 30. No, he was 38 when he was traded, because, well, he retired and then traded his
he
rights
came
away.
back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this like this does not happen when a 25-year-old borderline top five quarterback gets traded. But again, it just circles back to it's going to be the Jets or the Dolphins, or the one thing which would just make the Texans look even worse, if that's possible, is if they say no and then just continue to let it drag out. And Watson, I forget who I saw said that. Uh, Watson does not care about the money. I mean, he has money and would just sit it out, which I could totally see that happening.
Yeah, I just would not let an asset like that because first off, it'll drive his price, I think, down. He's not playing for you, so you're not really doing anything offensively, or you're not winning games. And like you said, Watson's not really hurting for money, and it's just at this point I would get because he's not coming back, and so why prolong the pain and the suffering? Just get rid of him, get your picks, and then you start building your team around your picks, and you build a new squad from there. I mean, like you said, it's easy to rebuild in football. It's not like it's hockey or baseball where guys have to play a few years to get their footing.
Hmm.
But we'll see. I mean, I would like to see Watson leave Houston. I think he's too good to play for such an inept organization. I know if anybody is watching this, they'll probably say the same thing about Jamal Adams for the Jets. But Jamal Adams forced his way out of New York. He threw his head coach under the bus. He threw the fans under the bus. He teamed up with
He threw his teammates
Manish.
under the bus.
Right, he teamed up with Manish to put out a hit piece on the front office, and there's no love loss, but it's all love though.
Okay.
And what's interesting about Jamal Adams, you talk to any teammates of his on the Jets, nobody really had anything nice to say about him. So who knows? Who knows what goes on behind closed doors that we don't know that they're not reporting.
Right.
But
But with
but
Watson,
yeah,
you just hear good
Deshaun
things.
Watson, he's been a consummate professional and 25 years old, top five quarterback. I don't blame him. But
Now, what is your, and again, just to put a bow on the Watson talk before we move on, to more Jet-centered things, to players who are on the Jets or may possibly be on the
be
Jets.
a Jet.
Yeah. Just one thing is Todd McShay saying on ESPN First Draft that he doesn't think Deshaun Watson would be a huge upgrade for the Jets, saying that he might be slightly better than Sam Darnold. Is it me, or at least people like are NFL analysts or sports analysts in general and insiders and everything? Are they just dumber than where they used to be, or like?
No, a lot of it's all fucking clickbait garbage. Its first take is the same way, and the one on FS1 with Skip and what is it called, Undisputed with Skip and Shannon. It's
Yep,
like, and it would be like, oh, Kawhi Leonard just dropped 35 points against I don't know, give me a bad team in the NBA, the New
Magic.
York Knicks. Oh, it's just you, but get the ring ready, get the ring ready. He's gonna do it this year. No, he's not. Because LeBron's still like, shut up. Just fucking report the goddamn sports news. Have a intelligent debate and then move on. It's all clickbait garbage, and that's why I stay clear from ESPN and FS1, and they really just get my shit from Twitter.
Yeah, that's how you have to get like all your news. Just diversify your news sources and get it from there.
All right.
Um, but yeah, so let's move on to some recent coaching hires. Is Robert Saleh. We discussed his introductory press conference, and the Jets released all their coaching hires. They also recently hired a former Western Michigan offense coordinator, Jake Moreland, who was a one-time Jet back in the year 2000, as assistant offensive line coach. And the big key thing is the Jets holding on Brant Boyer, the special teams coach, who's now gone through. Wait, I believe four regimes. Was he here with Rex?
I no, I think he was here beginning of Todd Bowles and then through Adam Gase.
Okay, and now with Robert Saleh as well. He's now the new Mike Westhoff, and the Jets special teams. It's kind of been hit and miss, but overall, you see with like Brandon Mann last year, uh, you know, being a stud as a punter. Um,
Yeah.
and it's just, I think consistency in some form or fashion is nice to see on the Jets staff.
Yeah. You know, not too long ago when the Jets had Andre Roberts, and
Mm-hmm.
I think he was an All-Pro punt and kick returner. Um, so yeah, he's a returner for his fifth season. So he was here. Actually, he got hired midway through the Bulls regime, and obviously through the last 2 years to Adam Gase.
Hmm.
And I like what he's done with the special teams. Like you said, you need some level of consistency. And like I said, Andre Roberts was an all-team or all-pro returner, and so I mean, it's nice that special teams isn't really going to have to learn a new playbook. But again, the playbook is punt, kickoff, field goal, and I don't know how much more in depth you can get there, but
Yeah, that's true. But that's uh, that's news on the front with the Jets coaching hires. Um, Now let's just go right into the free agency, and then we'll finish up in a bit with we'll talk about that quote unquote Pro Bowl and the
right.
championship game reviews. But diving right into part two of top NFL free agents, the Jets may look at or could possibly become a Jet. Uh, we did tight ends last week. Now this is also from ProFootballNetwork.com. They have the top 10 offensive line players in 2021, but I also have here Sports Track, which is more a bit more in depth. So I'll kind of bounce back and forth with them.
That's fine.
Um, One which is interesting. Uh, well, you know what? Before that, like, what do you think personally? Because I think the Jets don't care, even though it's a new regime. I don't think when it comes to O line, I don't think age is a factor. Do you think that'll like play into it? Because I'm looking, the first name I see that pops out is Alejandro Villanueva from the Steelers. He's an unrestricted free agent.
Um,
He's
no,
33.
but when you're building a team, you ideally you want to get young guys, but you're going to have a pretty young line. Um, where would you put? I mean, he plays left tackle now, so I guess you'd have to move him to the right, or you could put him in as
Mm-hmm.
left guard. Um, I don't know. It depends if he wants to move to right tackle or left guard, or if the Jets really have any interest in making him transition. So
Because
if you
you know what it is. The thinking is that when the Jets had the best, like no comparison, the best offensive line in the league for those 3 years, they drafted Mangold and Ferguson,
yeah,
both in the first round, so that locked up center and left tackle. They already had right guard uh, down with Brandon Moore for 3 years before then. And then they bring in Damian Woody to sharp right tackle, and then they had Alan Faneca left guard. So I think, a vet like that, maybe not because he is 33 and maybe 34, uh, maybe not him. Because, well, we do know left tackle is a sure. So, like one
is
tackle spot,
solidified, right?
yes, we don't even have to worry about one tackle. Um, but just going through here, uh, Cam Irving from Dallas. Uh, I don't know. He's 29. He's another tackle. You can move him over to right, but I honestly think that the Jets are going to end up keeping George Fant. I don't think tackle's going to be
Yeah,
a concern.
he was a great underrated signing. There was a lot of concern, well, he didn't really play well in Seattle, and he didn't
Hmm.
he let up too many rushes and sacks, but he surprisingly held his own. And yeah, I would keep rolling with Fant until they have a reason not to.
No, I agree. I mean, everyone thought because I don't think he's played right tackle before.
Right.
He's always been a left tackle. He had some success, some struggle there, and he was solid when he was on the field. So I completely agree. I think that you know, heading into next season, I think it'll be Becton and on the left side, Fant on the right side. So
I
with that,
I think I think because here's my thought process.
hmm
You can run through the free agency list. That's fine. I'm
Right.
going to say no to everything except Joe Thuney. The
Okay.
Jets need to get this kid or guy. He's older than me. Not a kid.
He's yeah, this young whippersnapper. He's 10 years
Yeah,
older than me.
he's 10 years older. No, he's 28 years old. Offensive guard for New England Patriots. The Jets were licking their chops to get at him last year, but the Patriots used the franchise tag on him. I
Hmm.
can completely see Joe Thuney being the second coming of Alan Faneca coming over from
Ooh.
Pittsburgh, shoring up that. I think he plays left guard, right? I think he's a left guard.
Uh, Thunny, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So you get Joe Thuney over here, offer him, just give him a blank check and tell him to put a number down. So now on the left side, protecting whoever's the quarterback, you've got Becton, who is 6'8". What is he, like 310 pounds of solid muscle?
Yeah.
Joe Thuney, who's 6'5", 308 pounds. So you have that blind side protection. In the middle, you have McGovern, who, yeah, you know what? He didn't do too bad.
At
He didn't
center.
do,
Yeah.
yeah, he didn't do
They're
too
gonna keep him.
right. With linemen, you have to be able to develop chemistry. Right guard, they have Greg Van.
Van Ryan.
Right. So I
I
think
think they
he'll
could.
stay.
Yeah. Really. Okay.
I think he'll stay. And then Fant at right tackle. You bring in Thuney and the Jets. I think the Jets line improves significantly because now you have protection. You can open up running holes on the left side. I really do think that Robert Sala's first year, if they get Thuney, they're going to focus heavy on a rushing attack and then letting the quarterback or letting that open up for play action passing and going from there. That's just
Yeah.
me. But
Well, I
no,
think Thunny or Brandon Sheriff. I feel like both would be great options. I feel whoever's cheaper. I mean, there's only a 1 year difference there. O line, it's not, it's not a running back. They're not like,
right.
once they hit 30, it's a wall. So I think either of them, yeah, get. Other than like we both agree upon that the top Jets free agent to retain is Marcus May. I think either Thunny or Sheriff needs to be the top target. And I said Allen Robinson last week. I lied. We need O line first. You
Yeah.
win in the trenches.
Yep.
This is how the Jets were successful over a decade ago. They
Yeah.
went. It literally took 2 years. It really only because 1 year that because in '06 they drafted.
Mangini.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mangini came in and he basically took over as GM. Tannenbaum was only GM in name. Uh, Mangini was making the picks. They took Mangold, they took Ferguson, and then 2 seasons
Darrell
later,
Revis.
yeah, 2 seasons later, they added Faneca and Woody in the offseason and instantaneously became the best O line in the league. The Jets,
Yeah.
I don't know about instantaneous, but they could have a top 10 O line. Like, I don't think that's out of the question in terms of, well, grading and whatnot. But adding a guy like Thuney and Sheriff, absolutely would be down for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
let's go ahead and move on to the defensive side of the ball. Uh, now we have here. Well, I'll just go through. I'll go through the top five that ProFootballNetwork.com has listed.
Sure.
Starting at five, Bud Dupree, Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers feel finished. They feel like that it is the end of the road. I know that's the other big rumor that Big Ben wants to come back. He'll take 20 million off his salary. He doesn't care about that. He wants 1 more year. They want to go at it one more time. I don't think I think the Steelers are done. Marquise Pouncey just retired. It really feels like the end of a dominance for the past really like 15, 20 years from the
Almost 15
Steelers.
years.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
3 Super Bowl appearances, 2 wins to the organization. But uh, if they could get a guy, if they can get Bud Dupree, he's a solid linebacker. The Jets need that type of pass rushing ability. He would be an upgrade over like a Jordan Jenkins.
Yeah.
Would not mind that at all.
Yeah. And he's only 27 years old. And yeah, like you said, Uh, eight forced fumbles in his career so far. He gets to the quarterback a lot. He's already got 39 and a half sacks in his 4 year career. So he's averaging about, or I'm sorry, not 4 years, 7 year career. So he's averaging about a good 6 sacks a season, which is not terrible. He's got one interception, again a defensive touchdown. So yeah, he'd be a pretty decent pickup, I think, especially with them wanting to retain T.J. Watt and
Right.
some maybe younger guys, maybe Avery Williamson might be cut. So I don't know. Like you said, Pittsburgh's going to be hurting for a little bit,
Yeah.
and maybe it might be the Jets' opportunity to swoop in and grab a guy here
Right. Well, you know what?
that could
Either
contribute.
him or either one of these. I mean, it's a good year to get a pass rusher, which the Jets have ignored and have not addressed since, well, John Abraham.
Yeah,
And
John Abraham.
two other options here are Shaquille Barrett, who the Jets could have had 2 years ago or 3 years ago and passed up on. From the Tampa Bay Bucks, he will be playing the Super Bowl. And Melvin Ingram, who is a little bit older, he's 32, from the Chargers. Honestly, this is another situation. Get one of these guys who's ever cheaper, and it would be an instant upgrade from what you've had previously.
Right, absolutely. And money's not an option for the Jets this year.
No.
Um, I think they're almost at about what? Well, they're at about 75 million, 78 million right now.
Yep, and they'll
Yeah,
only increase by another 10 million at least once they cut Henry Anderson and Ryan Griffin. They're expected to be cut. Uh, yeah, money's definitely not an issue, and I didn't even realize Matt Judon is available. Von Miller is too, but he's going to be a Bronco, and he also has off the field issues right now. Um, the other big name that's popping up, and I no, I'll just say that no, Leonard Williams. That's not going to happen. They'll not be reunited there
gross.
with the Jets.
Yeah,
Um,
no.
but I'll just take a look here at secondary options because defensive line, I think the Jets like with what they have
Right.
currently. They have um, Fadu Kasi, Franklin Myers, of course, Quinn Williams, and Nathan Shepard. So linebacker, you just need that. There's four top pass rushers in free agency available. The Jets need to get a receiver like an Allen Robinson, like Chris Godwin we said last week. They need to get one of these top guards that we've both mentioned now, Brandon Sheriff, Joe Thuney, and they need to get one of these pass rushers. Those three things, and that's a great offseason. They don't need to like get the splashy, windy offseason type of moves like what the Dolphins did last year. It didn't amount to much like the Jets did in 2016 or what was it? When they brought back Revis and Cromartie and everybody. You don't need to do that. You just need to make smart moves to help build this team.
Right.
But just moving on to the secondary, Patrick Peterson, the future Hall of Famer. I think he's going to just stick with Arizona. Um, what do you think?
Yeah, he's much like Larry Fitz, where
Yeah,
he's going to retire as a Cardinal.
yeah, no, that's how I feel as well. Um, Cornerback, I think the top guy who will end up getting is Richard Sherman, who is 33, but the ties there to Salah. I could definitely see a 1, maybe 2 year deal. I, and I wouldn't be, you know, I would be okay. I'd be comfortable with Richard Sherman and Bryce Hall as my starting corners
Yeah,
week one.
I would say though that to depend on Richard Sherman playing man coverage is well, you might as well put a gun to your head and blow your brains out. I would imagine it'll be a lot of zone, a lot of three-man cover.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's why they got Ashton Davis.
Right,
To
absolutely.
cover all that ground.
Yeah, and again, I wouldn't mind Richard Sherman at the right price as long as he's playing in his zone. Maybe give Bryce Hall a little bit of a mentor mentee type thing. Same with Ashton Davis, and
Yeah.
have Marcus May back there. I think they're not going to be too bad next year if they can get their hands on Richard Sherman or another cornerback of his caliber.
Right. Well, another cornerback of similar caliber, I would say, is Josh Norman, who's a year older from Buffalo, who may be cheaper than Sherman. Um, I don't know. I don't know if that's the type of guy, locker room wise, but there's been no issue up in Buffalo that I've heard, or really in Washington. He just got his money. Um,
Yeah,
it's
got his
it,
money.
but it's just maybe I think maybe it's more name value now. It's just because if you look at looking at the Jets depth chart now in terms of the secondary, their starting corners are Bless Austin, who I think is more better suited as a secondary guy, as a backup, and Bryce Hall. They have Lamar Jackson, the best Lamar Jackson, solid backup, Javelin Gildry, Elijah Campbell, Corey Ballantyne, backups. At safety, they have May, the converted Arthur Mollett, but yeah, of course, we know that they have Ashton Davis coming back next year.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, no.
I think
I mean, if
no.
they can get a like another piece in that secondary, they're not it's not bad. It's not that's why I think Richard Sherman just makes too much sense. Again, you said with the Salah connection and he can
How
teach
about
the young
this?
bloods there.
Sign
Let's hear it.
Sherman, but also go after uh, a guy like Ronald Darby from Washington.
Ooh.
Now he's 27. He's one of the younger corners I'm seeing here. Just looking through sportstrack.com, all the players listed in the secondary. A lot of older, well, not older, but in terms of secondary, you have Anthony Harris. I think he'll just stay with Minnesota. Justin Simmons is 28. He's free safety as well. I think he'll stay with Denver. Um, Sherman, I think both agree he's a lock to be a Jet at this point. Jason McCourty would not be a Jet. Brian Poole, we discussed 2 episodes ago, and Jets on free agents that he should return for another loyal 1 year deal. Bradley McDougall, I think the Jets will go another direction. Daniel Sorensen. Now that's the thing. It's like they had 3 safeties last year when they traded for McDougall. They had May, they had Ashton Davis, and incorporated him. It all depends, really. We don't know how Salah will utilize the current players and who he wants to target in free agency, defensively speaking. Because other than Richard Sherman, like I can't truly pinpoint a guy, you know, other than that name that pops off to me is off the screen is Daniel Sorensen from Kansas City, who is a safety, but he does make plays. Um, I really can't think of another name on this list. There's Xavier Rhodes, who had a fine year in his first year in Indy. Um, Maybe the Jets take a flyer on uh, former first rounder Malik Hooker, who's a safety. Rashad
Malik
Breeland.
Hooker.
I, I mean, it it
And you know
depends.
what?
It's here, you know.
Real quick, I'm gonna say Malik Hooker,
Mm-hmm.
the best safety in that draft class,
You
without
know
a
what?
shadow of a doubt.
You're not wrong. Um, there's plenty of solid guys here, but nobody that truly stands out. There's not like the cornerstone piece that you want to add that will instantly make your secondary like lockdown, no fly zone. But there's some solid pieces here that maybe if the Jets get Sherman plus another guy, maybe DJ Hayden, you know, uh, maybe a Mackenzie Alexander, wouldn't mind that.
Right.
That would be solid. You know, it would definitely be anything the Jets do this offseason,
Is an
which they
upgrade
is
from
an
last
upgrade
season.
from this past year, and already has been an upgrade because of the new coach and
Yeah.
the new philosophy. All gas, no break.
All
Um,
gas, no brakes. Speaking of all gas, no brake, I guess
yes.
somebody forgot to tell the Buffalo Bills that, and they got the
Oh,
shit kicked out of them.
well,
But
let's
we'll,
just
we'll, we'll
roll
talk
right.
about that later.
Well,
Yeah.
no, let's just roll right into it because I mean, there's not many other free agents here to
Alrighty.
cover. So yeah, the Bills got smacked up in the AFC Championship game. It was the second
Yeah.
game.
Yeah,
Um,
buddy.
we we both had the Chiefs. I think many people had the Chiefs uh, going over Buffalo, but uh, I think what happened here is experience definitely plays a part, and the Bills on the big stage couldn't come together, and the coaching really in these championship games really came through. The veteran experience, uh, and just with Sean McDermott, not like in certain situations, just not being aggressive enough. And again, we'll talk about the NFC title game in a bit, but yeah, Josh Allen, he looked all right. Not spectacular like he has in the past, but overall, just they couldn't handle the Chiefs. Uh, Chiefs going back to back Super Bowls is they're an amazing team.
Yeah, no, it's just like I don't want to compare it to the Patriot dynasties of early 2000s, but this team is just so fucking stacked, dude. It's
Yeah,
unbelievable. It's like, all right, well, we're gonna double team Tyreek Hill. Great, you just left Sammy Watkins wide open. All right, well we're gonna stuff Travis Kelsey at the line. Oh great, Tyreek Hill just sprinted past whoever for an 85-yard touchdown. Like it just you can't win, and the
right.
only way you're gonna win is if Mahomes gets hurt or it's just ah, they just they're just a fantastic football team. There's no other way to put it.
And they have a top three, in my opinion. I don't know how you feel. Coach in the league, and Andy Reid, who's been doing it forever, and
Yeah,
it seems that he's just getting better with his
with
offense and
age.
everything that incorporates. Yeah, Andy Reid ages like fine wine,
Yeah,
like a
and I'm
fine
and, and I'm
steak.
kind of glad that he finally found a home and a team where he can instill his vision. Because for
Mhm.
for so long in Philadelphia, dude, he was just being so fucking stifled by Howie Rosen and Jeffrey Lurie. It's just what he was still able to do in Philadelphia despite all that. I think he made Philadelphia Eagles made four straight NFC title games.
Yeah,
It's fucking insane, dude. That just goes to show that he can get the best out of his players, and
no,
you
he's
know
he's a great
he
coach, and
yeah
he moved from one town that has all the great cheesesteaks in the world to the epicenter of
he,
barbecue in America. So he must be happy. Um,
well, let's just put it this way, and you're not gonna like this. Cheesesteak is a major L, and I will
what?
never ever back down on that position.
Why is cheese the food? What is wrong with the cheesesteak ball?
It is disgusting slop.
What? What?
Yes.
How?
Just
Explain your reasoning.
two words:
Cite your
cheese
sources.
whiz.
Cheese whiz.
Cheese whiz.
They don't use the artificial cheese whiz in a can on real Philly style cheesesteaks. That's not how it works. They use cheese sauce.
Cheese whiz, cheese sauce. All I know is it's hot garbage.
Oh yikes!
Give me a
That's
New York slice any day.
oh, get this New Yorker out of here. Deep
Yeah.
dish over New York pizza any day. But
Oh, all right.
um, but yeah, the Chiefs. No, they're just too dominant. I think everyone kind of knew the outcome. It was still a decent game to watch, though. Buffalo having that onside kick, I think what they say, the first time since 2014 was recovered.
Yes.
In like a playoff game like that. Uh, but yeah, Chiefs moving on to their second straight Super Bowl. Uh, they again look great. In the first game, the more controversial game, Green Bay Packers hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Um, Again, like again, experience matters. Bruce Arians has been around the block, maybe not as a head coach, but longer in the game of coaching than Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur again, no balls, going for it, not going for it on fourth down, and just not being as aggressive as he should have been throughout the game. Um, Rodgers played as best as he could. His receivers, like Alan Lazard, was butterfingers all over the place. Other than Devontae Adams and the now emerging Robert Tonyan, he has no weapon. It's the Packers. To me, I view them the same as the Colts. They've been blessed with not one but two great, talented quarterbacks, and have managed to just not build around them enough
Only
to be able to
only two
compete.
Super Bowls. Yeah.
Yeah, with the Packers, you have Favre who went to two Super Bowls, won one, and that was all in the '90s. And with Rodgers, only been to that one and won one. Um,
Yeah.
but the big thing with this game was a very great game back and forth. Uh, the refs not calling any downfield penalties, no really holding or pass interference until the very end. When Tampa
Right.
Bay got the ball back, just inexcusable on a flop too. Holding, I believe, was a call on Tyler Johnson, the Bucks receiver, and it was holding. It was, but you can't go the entire game not calling everything that was so blatant. Devontae Adams was clearly held in the end zone. Um, Another play, I don't believe it was Adams. It might have been MVS who was held in the same way, like his jersey being pulled. That wasn't called, but
Right.
it just fuels the fire of Brady has the refs on his side, which I'm a believer of that. Biased aside as a Jeff fan, I'm sure you kind of buy into that too a bit, right? Um,
Absolutely.
it's just it's another situation of, oh, Brady's bailed out again, especially considering the past two games. Brady has not looked good in the second half. Like he looked like, yeah, he's getting up there. It's nearing the end of the line. The first halves are fine. It looks like typical Brady. He's not making all the completions, which is it is what it is. But in the end, if you turn the ball over, if you give Brady a short field, he's going to score touchdowns on you, and you can't just let that happen. But Green Bay, they turn it over too many times. Tampa Bay ended up winning, and Bucks are the NFC champions. Will be the first team in NFL history to host their own Super Bowl. What do you think of the game, Paul?
Well, there's that uh, there was that pass play towards the end of the game. Like you said, the holding call, the holding that should have been called, but there was about a 15-yard area that was wide open that Rodgers was he was rolled out. He was running towards the line of scrimmage that he could have ran and potentially,
Uh,
if not gotten a touchdown, gotten to the 2-3 yard line.
yeah.
So that there's an error there. But again, in the heat of the moment, it's very hard to make snap decisions, and imagine doing it at the NFL level. So it's
I'm not.
it's
The loss isn't on Aaron Rodgers.
right,
That's
right. But Matt LaFleur kicking a field goal, knowing he'd still have to score a touchdown with what 5 minutes to go left in the game. What
no,
it was?
with like I think maybe 2 minutes, a little over two
Was it
minutes
two
left to
minutes?
play. Yeah,
Yeah.
it.
At that point, you got to fucking go for it anyway.
I
You
was
still need the
rationalizing
touchdown.
it at the time and thinking like, oh, he could stop him, but then I'm thinking like, then after the game, and I'm like thinking like, wait a minute, why would that made absolutely zero sense? Because either way, you need you need the touchdown. If you get the ball
You need
back,
the
you can't.
touchdown.
3 points isn't going to cut it when you still need four. So why not
Right.
in that situation, fourth down, go for it. Oh, if you don't get it, okay, sure, but you already have them backed up in their own end zone. By
Right.
kicking a field goal, you cut it to four, but you give them the ball back and they're starting instead of potentially if you didn't convert on fourth down and get the touchdown, instead of having them backed up behind their own, say, 5 yard line potentially, um, or but it was at like the 7 or 8, I believe. They're now starting out at the 25 minimum.
Yeah.
It did make sense. It was a dumb call. It was like I said, you know, the experience and coaching mattered. It mattered in the AFC title game with uh, Andy Reid over Sean McDermott, and McDermott's a very solid coach. I think LaFleur is a solid coach as well, but it's just the inexperience. You know, at Bruce Arians, he knows what's up. He was part of those Steelers championship teams
Yeah.
as a coach. He's been around the block, and Tampa Bay are on to the
And so
Super Bowl.
I saw on Twitter somebody say just off of principle alone, the Jets need to fire Mike LaFleur because you can't have that type of DNA. There's no way.
Well, we got the
Uh,
best LaFleur,
yeah,
so
right. He'll be a head coach eventually.
probably.
But
But yeah,
so I guess with those two games, we usually have the Pro Bowl this week, but due to COVID, that was canceled. So what EA was doing, which was never done before, never will be done again, they were going to have a special game played on Madden 21, AFC versus NFC, and you would have the um, representatives from each team, each player, be able to control their own player. So, knowing what we know about Madden over the past 10 years, is that as each game comes out each year, the game gets progressively worse and worse. Brian, let me ask you, do you have Madden 21?
I do not.
Okay, so what was the last Madden you played?
20.
Okay,
Via EA
so
Access. I'm gonna get
okay.
this Madden 21 again. EA Access. I have not paid for a Madden since man
I think
Madden.
back in college days, it's got to be Madden 17 with Gronkowski, right?
I didn't even pay for that one too. I was because at that point I was just tired. I think maybe Madden 13.
Oh shit. Okay, almost 10 years for Brian. So that goes to show how bad this product is. Now, granted, Brian, there's nothing wrong with playing it on EA Access if it comes out for free, as long as you're not playing MUT. So the problem with Madden is that they are using such old game code, and really all they do is just copy and paste. Now, I don't know if we've talked offline about you getting a PS5,
Hmm.
but have you happened to watch any gameplay on Madden 21 for PS4 or PS5 or even Xbox?
Uh, just what some of our friends have shared with us, shared with me at least, video, a frustrating video of them having the same type of just nonsense happening
Right.
in game that's been happening for at least the last 4 to 5 Maddens that looks
Okay.
exactly the same in terms of gameplay.
Right. So with with the PS5 and the Xbox S1S or whatever it's called coming out, EA promised that Madden would be taken to the next level. Well, I guess you can say they kept their promise is if you define next level as next level garbage, because the glitches and the exploits that you're able to pull off in this game is unreal. So, for example, did you know, Brian, that they actually programmed a soccer game and a football game?
Wait, what? Like FIFA?
Yes. So there's this. Uh, well, let me explain. So there's a glitch in the game where, let's say you fumble the ball. Well, if a certain thing happens, like I think it's if two players clip into each other while they're getting the ball becomes you're not able to pick the ball up. So instead, you'll have 22 guys running around the field trying to pick up the ball, and they can't pick it up. It just gets kicked around all over the place. I will send you
Okay.
videos after the show to show you. There are numerous pass attempts where if you launch a ball downfield, kind of like a Hail Mary,
Mhm.
what happens is the ball just kind of floats in the air while the guys are trying to catch it. What will happen is the guy in the absolute middle will catch the ball and he'll break all the tackles of like six guys and score a touchdown.
I've seen that.
There's Yes. So, and that also happens between run plays and just short passes where the guy can't get tackled and he just takes it all the way for a touchdown. So, needless to say, this game's an absolute broken mess. So, with EA knowing this, and because they just get fucking ramrodded on Twitter and by this other YouTuber named Ryan Moody, instead of having this game play live on TV like they wanted to, it's taking place on Twitch. It's taking place on YouTube, pretty much any live streaming service. And instead of live gameplay, we're being treated to a game between six people, two professional gamers and four NFL players, and they're going to play Madden on a pre-recorded, pre-videotaped game. So that way EA can edit out their fucking garbage game and move it, pass it along to the consumers as finished and oh you should buy this. Um, I think it's an absolute fucking joke. I wish the NFL would wake up and let EA have some fun and program a game and create some competition between the two companies because not only would the NFL win because they're getting more money, but gamers would win as well because okay, now 2K is putting out a football game. It requires EA to put more effort into it.
There,
It's the
yeah,
same
there would
thing.
be higher demand. It's just common sense. Like,
Right.
I don't know. It may be out there. The figures on the contract that EA and the NFL had for the exclusive deal, but
Oh, it's out there.
it's to me like back in the day when you had not only did you have like ESPN NFL, you had 989 Game
Yeah.
Day NFL, you had the Madden back in like the mid 2000 like McNabb era cover Madden, Sean Alexander Maddens. Those are phenomenal games. Like
Yeah.
overall, like the different modes you can do, you can go in, create your own franchise from like scratch, like design a
Yeah.
stadium. Uh, you had also the Tony Bruno show, like so it was like realistic in the background. This also another thing, the soundtracks. Every year they're getting progressively worse and worse.
Oh yeah.
It's unreal.
It's all
Um,
pop garbage. Back in the
yeah,
day, it used to be hard rock or some rap, or you had a little mix of everything. And
you had a mix of everything that would be appealing to the people who actually play. Like that's the problem with a lot of I feel I mean going way off topic, but just games in general is that it's trying to appeal to people who don't play video games.
exactly.
And it like a person like me, I used to play video games a lot. Like growing up as a kid, having PS1, PS2, but like all the systems, N64 and playing and enjoying the games. The graphics weren't the best looking back and everything, but you still had fun. There's really nothing I play now. Like now, I just discovered Rocket League because it was free last month, and I've been playing the hell out of that. It's the most simplest game. You drive around as cars with rockets boosted, and you just kick a ball, and it's like
You're playing
soccer
soccer.
with cars.
Huh.
Basically, that stupid simple. There's nothing that's really appealing. I can't imagine paying $60 plus for these terrible Madden games. It's
Right.
just unreal that people every year would go through the effort just to get frustrated. Like I played a game and listen, I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm a great Madden player or playing like individually like we've played against each other before and everything. I don't think I'm fantastic and everything, but I'd rather suck on my own than have the game screw me and having the game like be glitchy or something like do something that doesn't make sense or with their volleyball physics of throwing the football, it bounces off the receiver's hands, it goes 25 yards the opposite direction. Oh, now it's an interception. Well,
Yeah.
great, because that's realistic. That's good that that happens in modern Maddens. That hasn't been corrected, but
Well, if you want to hear something, if you want to hear something great, so this is real quick. Another glitch in Madden
mm-hmm,
21. If you intercept the ball and you do a backwards lateral to to another teammate, the
mm-hmm.
game calls it an illegal forward pass. And you know what happens? The interception becomes null and void. The defense loses 10 yards, or the offense loses uh, 5 yards or 10 yards, and a loss it down. So
That's
the
not how the
interception
rule
becomes
works.
exactly. They had to
It's
fucking fix it in a patch. That's
Jesus.
how poorly programmed this game is. You talked about NFL head coach '09 last week. I am a huge franchise gamer
Have
for
you
sports in
rebuilt the
general.
Jets? Have
Madden.
you brought the Jets to the promised land yet?
Well,
With that?
we are on week 8. We're playing the St. Louis Rams. So I traded Chad Pennington, and I'm
Okay.
working with Kellen Clemens, who at the time he was projected to be a decent quarterback. So his maximum overall he can have is an 88. Right now, I have him at an 82.
Okay.
But I drafted Chris Johnson at the back end of the first because I traded with the Cowboys. They moved up to 6, and I got pick 22 and 28 out of it. I drafted Chris Johnson, and I drafted Donnie Avery, and then in the second round I drafted a linebacker, Dan Campbell.
Oh, the
Not
new Lions head coach.
oh no, Dan Connor, excuse me.
Oh, okay.
So I'm building through there, and I'm swindling. I'm wheeling and dealing. I'm making draft moves and
Right.
scouting. But see, this is the thing. I had to go back 10 years. I had to buy a 360, and then I bought this game to fucking play franchise mode the way it should be. Now, granted, you don't get to play. You're just calling the plays, but that's what I like. I like doing stuff like that. I like
Yeah.
being able to take control of a team. And this Madden is it is so bare bones. Franchise hasn't been touched in Madden since 2013,
I think the
2012, if
last
that.
maybe effort they
And
put into a Madden was the 25th anniversary one, the Adrian Peterson Madden, where they
yeah,
tried to like
Barry Sanders, yeah.
it, no, yeah,
Barry
they
Sanders was the like the legend
yeah,
cover.
yeah, 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 where they tried to like make it special because it was 25 years of Madden. Other than
Right,
that, it's
right.
every year like it's the same terrible game, and
Yep.
I have no interest. If I didn't have EA access, I would not care, would not blink an eye at going ahead and purchasing it. But yeah, what the NFL is doing with the Pro Bowl, like I understand with COVID, you don't want all these players from all these different teams, especially who've been out of the playoffs. You don't know where they've been. You can't do the contact tracing for COVID protocols. Everything would be just too much of a hassle. But
Right.
to why not do something a bit more innovative than just having some Twitch thing that nobody's going to tune in for this. Like,
Well, it
who
was
cares?
supposed to be the fucking each player controls themselves and they just play a game of Madden and it would be great if the game actually fucking worked. That was the plan, but they because EA is so incompetent and has such a dysfunctionally made game, they couldn't do it. It's just
It's a shame.
yeah, it is because that would have been really cool to see. But now we're stuck with watching Jamal Adams and Deshaun Watson and two bums that put punters in at quarterback and run the same fucking option play that exploits the game and breaks it. Play a game of Madden on Twitch.
Well, and that would be something we won't look
That's all
forward
I gotta
to.
say about that.
Uh, no, that's fine.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, uh, I think
I just had to get that out of my system. I just Madden is such a great game, and just to see how fucking broken it's become, it's a damn shame.
I think it's a microcosm on a bigger issue. Like I said, video games as a whole.
Yeah.
That's a whole other thing we could get into. But yeah, it's hopefully next year the Pro Bowl's play because I used to kind of like the Pro Bowl back in the day when it was in Hawaii and guys actually, even though they didn't hit as hard usually, um, they still like had athletic plays and stuff like that. And the skills competition was pretty cool to see every now and then. You see the great account on Instagram and YouTube is NFL Throwback that's constantly putting old school clips uh, up of everything, and it had like Carson Palmer like stumbling and bumbling trying to do his quarterback skills competition from 2005 or something like that. Um, so it'd be nice to see the
Yeah.
Pro Bowl return next year. We'll definitely tune in them. But uh, as for the Super Bowl, I think we'll hold off on that for another week. Give our picks. Let it sit. I think I'm rolling with the Bucks right now. I don't believe that'll change. I have money on the Bucks,
Wow.
so at this point.
All right.
But well, we'll go more in depth and review that next week. We'll start getting into to mock drafts because we only really touched on like what the Jets would do at two, and we think quarterback there, but getting closer and closer. Pro days already starting up. I think I saw Tulane yesterday, 2 days ago. They had their pro day. So we'll get more in depth to what the Jets could be doing. Uh, why don't we do this next week, round one, round two, and then the following episode we'll cover the rest of the rounds and
Yeah,
just
that's fine.
just go like that. But yeah, for Jets Flight Path, I'm Brian.
I'm Paul, and make sure you follow us on Twitter at Just Flight Path. We will see you guys next week. Take care.